Hello and welcome to our Realty Pros for this week's um, Realty Talk. We have part two, which is wonderful. I'm excited, and I wasn't able to be with you all last week on part one, but I'm excited that I'm here for part two. I'm excited for the new agents that have committed themselves to joining in on the Realty Talk. I want to welcome you as well as our the agents that generally are here for Realty Talk. If there's someone that you know of that you think could, well, we could all benefit from, but absolutely feel free to reach out to your colleagues and remind them to join us for this afternoon's Realty Talk, because this is good information for all of us. So we're going to have Mr. Porter here for part two. Steps to forming business and applying for credit is the topic for today. So if you can reach out to some of your other Realty Pros and have them to, remind them to join in with us. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Porter, and you can just, guide me as far as when you need me to with the slides. Thank you so much, Mr. Porter.
Well, good afternoon, Realty Pros. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Can you see me? I'm turning it on. So I'm working on two different. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Is the volume good? Everything's good?
Hey, Ms. Porter. Why is it not sharing up there now?
Okay. So you guys can hear me and you can see me. I'm hoping everything is going well. Okay. So today, and wait, I think Ms. Denise is trying to get us set up in the office here. All right.
On my screen?
Oh, it is casting.
Yeah.
You might have a casting tab versus the whole desktop.
Did you meet your computer, Ms.
Oh, I thought I was on.
Thank you. All right. So today we're going to be talking about following up from our previous meetings about establishing LLCs and building business credit. But we started out way back, and I wanted you all to go back and watch and learn about how to build your personal credit. So that was one of the most important things that we shared. You really want to work on your personal credit, and there's a whole video, and I don't know if we put it in the WhatsApp yet, but we did it, I think, last year in somewhere in the middle of the year, and it was about establishing your personal credit and what you needed to do. And then we talked a little bit about building your business credit, but this is more of an elaboration on what you can do. Last week, we talked about, what an LLC is, what it does, different types of credits, different types of lines of credit and things that you can get in order to establish your business credit. So we're going somewhere with this, and what we want to make sure that you're able to do is not only run your business effectively, but position yourself so that you can take advantage of investment opportunities in real estate for yourself and your family and for posterity. So we want to teach you not only at Porterhouse, not only how to help people buy and sell real estate, but how to do it yourself and how to get the funding to do it and how to position yourself to be prepared to do those things that you're going to want to do. And we don't want you to make a lot of the mistakes that we made learning, because a lot of times when you're learning things, some of the costliest things that happen is that you learn from making big mistakes, and you don't want to make huge mistakes, especially if you have a system. That being said, I just wanted to just reiterate, Porterhouse International Realty Group is a system. We have a system and a systematic way of doing things. You cannot know the system if you're not attending the trainings. You must attend the trainings in order to learn the systems, and then you practice doing those systems over and over again till it becomes second nature. The most important thing that we do is we take care of people. That's what we do here at Porterhouse. And that has to be the forefront of everything that you do. You have to be in the customer and client service business, all right? We believe in disclosure. We believe in giving and being the first givers. So there are a lot of things that this system is about. We use tools that we call success tools because these are the tools that we have seen time and time again yield the biggest results. A lot of times people think there's some type of magic or some secret to success, and there is. It's called hard work. It's called consistency. It's called doing the same things over and over, developing those systems, developing the steps, knowing what to do next. And when you don't know, you don't guess. You call and phone a friend. You call a leadership team. We have a wonderful and dynamic leadership team that is available to everybody here at Porterhouse. And if you can't reach a member of the leadership team, you have a broker that is accessible and is in so many different places where you would never meet the broker. But you're going to see your broker all the time here at Porterhouse. Your broker is always going to be available. If she can't talk to you now, she will return your call. And then you have me, Mr. Porter. I'm going to be here for you as well. Sometimes you might call me. I might not have the answer. I might say that's a Jasmine Porter question. The problem is a lot of times we try to make things up as we go along. You don't have to do that at Porterhouse. We have scripts. We have libraries worth of so much information that if you just start to go into it on a regular basis and digest what a lot of that information is telling you to do, and you learn the systems, you're going to be successful. You're absolutely going to be successful. This year, we've talked about establishing, and stabilizing yourself in business. So one of the steps that we want you to do is learn how to establish and stabilize yourself in business. And what we've been talking about, it always starts with you personally. You have to be honest with yourself. This month just happens to be the month of January. For those that are watching the video later, this is the month of January. And right now, each and every one of you is accountable to meeting with the broker to go over your business plan for the year. That business plan encompasses so many things that you need to make sure that you're checking off for yourself, because that's the way you do business. But just because that's the way you do business does not mean that you don't want to use a system that is proven to work, okay? You want to take care of the way you do business, meaning personality types. But there are systems that absolutely work, and if you work them, you're going to be successful. This is one of those systems, and that's what I want to be talking about. This is simple. This is basic business 101. And I'm going to be using the state of Maryland as an example because we're here in the Upper Marlboro office. So as you go through this step-by-step process, this is how just about every small business is formed. It's a step-by-step process. Many people have heard tidbits and pieces. What I'm going to try to do is give you a more elaborate process to go through. So if Ms. Anita, if you can advance to the next slide for me, please. Let's start off with the first step, okay? First, you want to work on your personal credit. While you're doing that, don't hesitate to go ahead and start forming your business, okay? In the state of Maryland, there's a website, egov.maryland.gov/Business Express. If you wanted to establish your LLC in a different state, you can do that. There are states that have different benefits. I'm not going to talk to you about that. That's something that at the end I'll talk to you about, asking your tax professional and everything. But I wanted to go through the steps for you in terms of what you do. So when you go to the egov.maryland.gov/Business Express, the first thing it's going to ask you to do, and over to your right of your screen, you see over in the gray area, you see what that front plate looks like, what that little slide is going to look like that comes up on your screen. And you can do it on your cell phone if you want. And it's very simple to use. But the first thing it's going to ask you to do is create an account or register, okay? And what you do once you create an account, it's going to ask you just like any domain. It's going to ask you for username and password. Once you do that, now you get to name your business. Now, if you have a a name that maybe is not unique, it's going to require you to search and see if that name is available. If it says that the name is not found, that's good. Don't think that because the name is not found, that's a bad thing. That's a good thing. That means that nobody's using that particular name, and you can move forward with registering that name. So once you go onto this website, and don't pay anybody to do this. This is so simple. And people, just because they're afraid to take 10 to 15 minutes and go in here, will pay people an exorbitant amount of money. And if you type in the word form and LLC, you'll find people charging you $300-400 to do this for you. But when you find out how inexpensive it is to do it yourself and how easy it is to do yourself, you're going to wish that you would have just went ahead and handled it yourself, because this is very simple, and I'm giving you a step by step. All right. Once you create that account and register that new business, that is going to require you to search to see if the name is available. Then you're going to go ahead and remember, you do not need to register a trade name. It's going to ask you, do you need to register a trade name? No, you don't need to register a trade name, because you're creating the LLC with the name that you're going to be using or doing business as. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that later. All right. Once you go through that process, you just apply for an LLC. Okay. When you apply for the LLC, there are going to be sections that's going to ask you for the business address. It's okay for you to use our business's address as your address. Okay. Make sure that we know the name of your new LLC, because if it's not associated with your name, we won't know whose mailbox to put stuff in. Okay. So make sure that you make us aware that this is the name of your LLC. Now, if it's named after you, then it's kind of self-explanatory. For instance, if it's called like a leaf, if it's called the Bowie Property Pros, we can probably figure out that it's Anita Bowie. All right. And once you apply for that LLC, you want to use the business's address, and you want to use that unique business email that you have. Mine is Shay at Porterhouse Realty Pros. Jasmine is Jasmine at Porterhouse Realty Pros. Yours is normally your first name, and if it's more than one people with the same name, you might have your last initial at PorterhouseRealtyPros.com. The reason why you want to do that is because later you're going to be applying for business credit, and what they're going to be checking to see is if you're using a generic Gmail, or if you don't have a business address, you're using a home. They will literally Google the addresses to see if the building looks like a business, a place of business, or if it looks like it's your apartment. And they will deny you credit simply because of that. All right? So that's very important to remember. All right. Once you go through that, the system is real simple. It's going to ask you some questions. They're going to ask you for your personal name at some point. You pay the fee. All right. I usually pay for them to expedite it, because, a lot of these government agencies are really slow with reviewing, and all they have to do is go through and click and make sure that you've answered everything appropriately and that you didn't put anything that you didn't need. When you go through the LLC, it's going to ask you, do you want it to be called LLC, or do you want it to be called Limited Liability Company or Limited Liability Corporation, or do you want L period, C period? It doesn't matter. Whatever you name it, that's how it's going to appear. It's still an LLC. All right. And that's what you're applying for with the eGovMaryland.gov. Okay. Once you pay that fee, you don't need to do certified copies. And if you want to, that's certainly up to you, but you don't need that, because what they're going to do is they're going to respond electronically, and then you can just download and print that document. And that's what you want to keep, that document. You want to download it, print and save, and make sure that you always have access to it. You will have to wait for a response. Again, and that's why I said sometimes people want to expedite because they want a quicker response. But it doesn't take too much time, but it's not quick either way. But if you want to pay the extra, I think it's $20 in the state of Maryland to expedite it, that's certainly up to you. If you want certified copies, that's certainly up to you. They'll just mail you a copy in the mail. I've never needed a certified copy, so I normally don't ask for a certified copy. Before I go on, that's it. You got your LLC. Now, if there are any typographical errors, or if you've used words that they don't allow for you to use in your name, I think one of them is the word realtor. I believe so. I believe that you cannot use the name realtor, because realtor is a trade name that is copywritten, or not copywritten. It is copyrighted. Okay, copyrighted, meaning that the copyrights for the word realtor belongs to the National Association of Realtors. So they don't allow you to use that word in your name. Okay, so that's something that they might send you a response saying, hey, you can't use this, or you don't need to add the word LLC. We'll already add it to your name. But they'll respond and tell you if they need you to fix something or change something, and you go in, you make the corrections and resubmit it, and then everything should go smoothly. I want to give kudos to Angela Skipper, because last week she caught me in the office. We jumped on it, and she did it. And I don't know if she got hers back, but we'll find out later. But anyway, does anybody have any questions about this aspect? And it's really pretty much the same if you're doing it in Virginia or Delaware or any other. You go Nevada, all of them have websites. You create an account, you register, you look for the name, and you go through pretty much very, very similar processes. Okay, and then you just have to wait. Some of them will give it to you immediately. In some states, they just go ahead and move forward as long as everything's formatted correctly. The artificial intelligence or whatever they're using just will approve it without having somebody else look for it. And that's some of the benefits of using different states. But again, I'm not suggesting to you any state to use, because that's something I want you to ask a tax professional or an accountant or an attorney. All right. Does anybody have any questions about this step?
Yes.
For me, yes.
Jennifer. Yep. I just wanted to know, do you need to have a like a EIN number with the IRS when you're building this LLC?
That's step 2. The reason why that's step 2 is because the IRS wants to know the name of the approved LLC number for the state that you applied. You don't know if this name is approved until you do this step first. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I was just wondering, did you need that, or are we just going to?
The answer to that is no. You want to do this step first.
But eventually,
the next step,
you need an EIN.
The next step, here we go. Yeah, the next step. Go ahead, and you can move to the next slide. And if anybody has any other questions, bam. So this is what Jennifer's talking about. The next step is going to the IRS. Does that make sense now, Jennifer?
Yes, I just want to confirm.
Yes, okay. Yes, ma'am. So you right on point. But we want to make sure that you're putting this in order. So the first step is to go and get your LLC registered in a state. We're using the state of Maryland just for an example, because most people will probably use the state of Maryland. There, again, I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to let you all do your own research. There are benefits of establishing LLCs in other states. But for this example, we're using the state of Maryland, right? Once you've completed the registering of your LLC, now there's 2 schools of thought. One school is saying wait until you get the actual approval back from the state saying, hey, your LLC is good, is registered, and is now in good standing. One other thing I needed to say with the state LLCs. In the state of Maryland, they have what's called an annual filing, meaning that each year they want you to account for what's called personal property of the business. most of the time you're not going to have personal property, so they give you a personal property that exceeds their tax standards. So they're going to give you a flat fee, and I think it's like $300. So is to establish it the first year is like half of the 300. After that, you have to pay about $300 every year that you're in business to keep your LLC in the state of Maryland. Other states are a lot cheaper, a fraction. But again, I'm gonna let you do your own research and determine which state and how you want to register your LLC. But at any rate, once you register your LLC, and if you want to wait until you get the actual articles of organization back saying that your LLC is good in this state or that state, then the next step is to go to the feds. The IRS is the federal government. So you went to the state, now you're going to the federal to get your employer ID number, EIN, also known as a tax ID number or TIN. But when you go on the website, it's specifically going to say EIN. Now, the reason why I'm telling you it's TIN because when you go to apply for credit or you go to a bank, they're going to ask you for a TIN or tax ID number or something like that. But don't get it confused, the same thing. You're going to use that number, right? That number, that EIN number is for all intents and purposes, is the social security number of your business entity. You have a social security number. That's when they say social security number, SS number, they're always talking about you personally. You cannot type in and most systems won't even let you type in your social security number where it's asking you for your EIN and vice versa. Your EIN is the tax ID number or the social security number for your business. That's the way you think of it. But it's not a social security number. It's an employer identity number or a tax identity number. That's the number that you're going to need when you take this information to go open your bank accounts. All right. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right. So when you go to irs.gov, it's real simple. So irs.gov/business is the page that you can go to quickly. You can just type irs.gov and look, search EIN, but if you go to /business, it's going to take you to a page. You're going to see EIN. You're going to click apply online, and then it's going to go to another section that says apply online now. When you apply on that, it's going to ask you to read. It's going to tell you what a EIN number is for. It's going to explain what an LLC is for. It's going to tell you all these different types of things. If you applied with the state for an LLC, a limited liability company, or anything like that, you're going to check limited liability company. If it has the initials LLC, any way, shape, or form in the state that you registered, that's what you're going to check in the IRS when it comes, because it's going to ask you, is it a corporation? Is it this type of business? Is it that? You're going to click limited liability company, LLC. That's what you're going to have. All right. Once you go through and continue, you're just answering questions, and they're simple, very, very simple questions at that point. Then you're going to get to a page in the IRS that is going to ask you to put your personal information. So they want to connect this entity to you through your personal name, your personal address, and your social security number for tax purposes. Okay. I'm not going to get to that. Okay. You want to make sure you fill that out, and then you continue, and then it will show you a letter instantly. You don't have to wait or anything. It'll show you a letter, unless you try to put some false information in that doesn't match with the social security number that they have on file. They're going to say, hey, we're not stupid. We can't register and give you an EIN number at this time. But as long as all your information is, your proper name, your proper address, and your social security number, it will generate an EIN letter. It'll be a letter, have all these beautiful words in there talking about this is what your EIN is. And if you look at the top right-hand corner, you'll see the name of your business, the date you established it, the address that you used for your business, which should match the business address here. it's going to give you all that information in the top right-hand corner. You want to take a screenshot of that. You want to download that paper. You want to print it. You want to save it. You want to otherwise commit it to memory, because that EIN number is the number of the entity in which you established for the LLC that you just opened. Does that make sense? Any questions before we go?
I'm sorry, I have one question. This is Renee. Does it matter, or is there anything that we need to know if you set your business up in Maryland, but you're working in other states?
No.
Okay.
If you set your business up in the state of Maryland, that's fine. Now, here's what is interesting. You might run into a situation where your name or the name of your business, say for instance, if Anita put Bowie Estates, LLC, and then she went online and she realized there's another Bowie Estate that's registered in the state of Delaware. Well, at that point, she might want to go and establish a trade name. And what the trade name does, then you elevate it from the trade name, meaning that you'll have a trade name in the state of Maryland that's saying, hey, I want to go after people using this name because this is my trade name. And then you have to establish it through a copyright or through a registered trade name. And that's just more money for them to do it. And whoever does it first and files it, then that person has that name as a trade name. And then you can go after the other Bowie Estates if it ever gets that serious and say, hey, your company is doing damage to my name and reputation, and we have a registered trade name. You can no longer use this name. So those are next levels. But for all intents and purposes, you don't need to do that, and there's really nothing that you need to do. Give me an idea, Renee, of what you mean or what came to your mind and made you ask your question.
I think you kind of answered my question. I think on the other hand, I wanted to know, like, say for example, if I'm licensed in DC and I'm licensed in Virginia, but my business is set up in Maryland, but I'm working in other states. I didn't know if it mattered if my business was set up in one state, but I'm doing work in other states outside of Maryland.
Yeah, so your business can be registered in, say for instance, the state of Maryland, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you hold licenses in other states, if it's under Carson Estates LLC, and I'm just using that,
Right.
say for instance, Carson LLC, and you registered in the state of Maryland, when you go to the other state, you would just need to let them know that's your business's name.
Okay.
And what they're going to ask you to do, and even with us, we're going to need what's called a W-9. And on that W-9, it's going to say who is doing business. So it will be on the W-9, it would be Renee Carson doing business as Carson Estate LLC.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So for most of you, even when you came to Porterhouse, you filled out a W-9, you put your name, you put your social security number, and you turn that in, and that's who we cut the checks to. That's who you're getting paid under. Now you're going to be getting paid under Carson Estate LLC, and that has a different EIN number. So instead of your social security number, you're going to put your EIN number, and then now the payments are going to come to you, but they're still going to have, and that's the way we format your payments. Renee Carson DBA, because you're most of the time you're going to be a single entity LLC, and I'm not trying to get all technical, but that's what it's going to ask you that. And if you're the only person on your LLC, then it's a single entity LLC. So that means Renee is doing business as Carson Estates LLC with the EIN number of Carson Estates LLC, which is still a taxable entity.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Understood.
All right. Not going to get into how to structure and all that again. When we get to the last slide, I'll tell you about some of those things, and I'll just allude to them, and then I'm going to ask you to make sure you talk to your professionals on how to structure this stuff. But it's important to set it up. Okay. Set it up, get used to using it, get used to getting paid under it, get used to putting your money into your business account so that you can do business and so that you can establish business credit, which we want to get into next. So does anybody else have any other questions about the EIN? It's a real simple. EINs are very, very simple. Now, your EIN is going to stay the same for that entity forever, the same way your Social Security is the same for you. However, say for instance, Carson Estates needed to, for whatever reason, I'm not getting to reestablish in a different entity, or Renee decides to separate from the entity because she sells something with Carson Estates, or somebody comes at her and says, hey, we have that trade name or whatever. Now she has to go and get Carson Estates 2. Just put the number 2 on it, and it's a totally different entity, and you have to do the whole thing with the LLC all over again, and you have to get a brand new EIN number for Carson Estates 2. It's a totally different entity. You have to open up a whole new bank account and everything. But we'll get to that next. So let's go to the next slide. If you guys have questions, jump in there. All right. Once you have done the IRS, once you have done the state of Maryland or the state that you want to register your LLC in first, then you go to the IRS. Now, most people skip this step. They don't know what Dun and Bradstreet is. So if you go to https://www, or just type in dnb.com, it's Dun and Bradstreet. Say that word to yourself, Dun and Bradstreet. It's not a scary thing. Dun and Bradstreet is essentially the Equifax, the Experian, and what's the other one? TransUnion for business. So with your personal credit, they're looking at your FICO scores through TransUnion, through Equifax, or through Experian. Those are the 3 major agencies for your personal credit. However, with your business credit, you won't have any. You need to establish it. And the way you want to establish it is with a DUNS number. So you got to go through Dun and Bradstreet, and they are like a reporting agency for your business credit. That's a really good thing to establish. Now, Dun and Bradstreet is not just like TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Well, they kind of are, because all of them sell you something. They all sell you, oh, we'll help you boost your credit. We'll help you do this. Hey, you want to get a credit card payout? So Dun and Bradstreet has a ton of resources that they're going to try to sell you, but you don't really need all that. All you want is a DUNS number, okay? So when you go to dnb.com, you're going to see the thing that looks just like that D-U-N-S number. It's going to be at the top, in the top white section of the little picture you see over there. You want to click that, and then it's going to go to the next screen, and it's going to literally say, get a DUNS number. You're going to click that. You're going to follow the steps to get a DUNS number. You're going to have to put your business name, your LLC, when you registered, what's your EIN number, who is the person that's responsible, all of that, and do you have any trade lines? And then they're going to even ask you, do you want us to help you set up trade lines? Do you want us to help you set up credit lines? If you need that kind of help, then you want to go ahead and do it, but they're going to charge you a fee to do it. You don't have to pay the fee. You can do it yourself. But they're really good at helping you establish it. So if you want to pay for the resources, I'm not knocking it. If you think you really, it'll be much easier. Sometimes, like for me, I don't want to cut no grass anymore. So Ramirez, I just send them the money. They cut the grass. It's all good. If you want them to cut your grass and do your business and get your credit straight in your business side, let them do it. It's okay. That's fine. But you want to get the DUNS number. Most people skip this section, and then they wonder why their business credit, they don't have business credit, and they've had a business account, they've had everything set up, but they never did this one step. Very important step. Not really a big secret, just most people don't know. Right? So your DUNS number is the step number 3. Next slide.
That was
Any
that was
questions?
new information for me.
That's new information. Good, great. Welcome to Porterhouse. All right. Now you did everything that you put. You got an LLC. You done turned your W-9 in the Porterhouse and look at my LLC. And this is my EIN number. And this is who you're gonna pay me under. I am this person doing business as this entity, and this is the EIN number, and this is what I'm doing now. And now I need to go get me some business credit. Now, again, Dun & Bradstreet will help you. They'll help you along the way, but you want to go to a bank. You want to go to a credit union, and you want to open up a business account. Make sure that the bank, you do your own research. I don't have any suggestions. I don't like to give out suggestions because if something don't work, you're going to blame me. So do your own research on best banks for establishing businesses and business credit, because that's the ultimate goal. You want to get credit so that you can fund what you want to do in your business. Okay? People are not rich out here walking around with a bunch of money that you see that have signs and billboards. They are using other people's money as leverage to build wealth. That's what I want you to do. All right? So you got to take a copy of your articles of organization. That's what the LLC document is called from the state. It is not an article of incorporation because you're not incorporated. You have a limited liability company, which limits your liability, which is different from a corporation. Don't get it fooled. A lot of people say LLC is limited liability corporation. It's not. It's a limited liability company. All right. And a limited liability company has articles of organization. Right? Not incorporation, organization. So you are organized. That's what it's saying. As an LLC. You bring a copy of that EIN letter that I told you to save, download, don't ever lose, because that has your official EIN number. They're going to need a copy for their files to put it on that this is that you gave them a tangible copy. They normally don't want an email. They want that tangible copy. I don't know why. It's the same thing, but hey, when they get there, they get there. Once you have those two documents, they're going to ask you for some identification for who you are. They want to know who's this person that's going to come into this bank as this EIN, getting money out or putting money in. They're going to ask you, is anybody else going to have access to your account? I would suggest that you don't give anybody else access unless you have a partner. And you and your partner know each other well and have done business. All right. But you want to have one person controlling that bank account because that's where you're going to start doing your business out of. All right. Then they're going to ask you to make a deposit, initial deposit. Sometimes it's minimal, and a lot of credit unions, something as small as $5. And banks, and the difference between, guys, I don't know, I'm not going to assume anybody and everybody knows these things. Credit unions are nonprofits. Okay? Credit unions have ceilings that are established by the government of the amount of profit that they can make on their services and products, because they have huge tax benefits for being nonprofit organizations, and they are normally member organizations, meaning that you're required to be a member in some way, shape, or form in order to be part of that credit union. Banks are commercial. Okay, they're going to let you put money in, and they're going to charge you for everything that you do. You want a checking account, there's a fee. You want a savings account, there's a fee. Now, sometimes they'll say no fee checking and no fee saving and all that, but there's going to be some fees, okay? If you want a loan, there's a fee. If you want what's the thing called, a cashier's check, there's a fee. With the credit unions, they normally waive fees for a cashier's check. They waive the fee for a lot of or even using the ATMs and things of that nature. So just keep in mind, credit unions are members only, very few fees, very inexpensive to operate out of if you can become a member of those credit unions. Banks are wide open to anybody that walks through the door, but they're going to charge you an arm and a leg for pretty much anything you want to do. They're both federally insured. They both operate in very similar manners. One is nonprofit and one is for-profit. So banks are going to try to make every dime that they can out of it. Right? That's not knocking banks. They're good. And a lot of them will give you credit, lines of credit, and loans because that's what they do. Your money is going to the bank. It's not sitting in the bank. You can't even go in the bank and get all your money out. You got to call them and let them know you're trying to come get that money out if you want it in cash. They'll give you a check because they don't keep that much cash in the bank. That money is used to give out loans, lines of credit, and credit cards. That's what you want. So when you put your money in, you tell them, hey, this is what I want out. Once I deposit my money in my account while I'm sitting there with the lady, you already waited in line or sat there and signed your name. Why not say, hey, now I want to apply for a loan, I want to apply for a line of credit, and I want to apply for a credit card in the name of my business. Well, they're going to say, well, we got to see what your personal credit looks like in order to open up a brand new account, brand new line of credit. We want to see what you do. How have you managed your personal affairs? This is why we started out talking about getting your personal credit straight first, because that is what they're going to use to help establish. Because again, your DUNS number is brand new. This account is brand new. Your EIN number is brand new. Everything is brand new. So they want to know, how do you pay your bills? You running this entity, but how do you pay your bills? Because that's going to be a good indicator of how you're going to end up paying us or not paying us back before we extend to you a loan, a line of credit, or a credit card. But my experience is that the banks are a little more lenient towards business entities. So this is why I said set all of this up, then go and set your account up where your checks are going to be deposited. You can connect that to BrokerMent. You can put your new business account in there, and your commissions will go directly into that account. They'll see that money coming in, and that will even help you in the long run if they do say, hey, you might want to come back in a little while, let this account season for a little while. That's fine. I'll come back in 3 or 4 months or 5 months once I'm starting to put some money into this account, and then you'll see that the account is seasoned, and then they'll extend to you some credit, okay? Whatever they extend to you, it's okay. Go ahead and take it, all right? Does anybody have any questions? That's going to the bank, setting up that account in your business name. Now you got a business bank account.
I have a question. Do
Yes,
you
ma'am.
do you do this all in one day? Like if you set all of this up today, you can go to the banks today?
Yes, ma'am. As long as you have your articles there, your articles aren't going to come today. If you step this up today, you're going to wait for your articles if you do in the state of Maryland.
Okay.
So once your articles come, you print out your articles of organization, your EIN you already have, then you can go to the bank.
Okay, I thought they had a expedited. That was
They
me.
expedited, but still you still got to wait because in the state of Maryland they want one of their experts to review the articles and make sure everything is in order, and then they'll send it to you that it's approved or that we need you to fix something, etc.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And once you get that, and it can take that long. Angela, is Angela on the line? Because Angela applied for hers, I think, last week. And I want to know if she received it.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Hey, Angela.
Hi. So I have not received it.
Okay. So when did you
Yet.
apply for that? Last week sometime, right? Or was it
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Shay.
What day did we apply? I don't.
It was last Wednesday, I believe,
All right. So it hasn't come back.
or
yet.
Thursday.
So it hasn't come back yet.
No, yeah, it was about a week ago, but let me just say this too. It was last Thursday, and I haven't checked my mail in 2 days. I want to be honest here. It could have come in the last 2 days.
Okay. But in general, and I think you did expedite correctly.
I
Correct.
did, and yeah, I'll let you guys know on the everyone tune in this evening. I'll let you know if it came in.
Awesome. So that's what so once Angela's articles come in, she already has an EIN. she can go to the bank and open up her bank account.
So I have a
Does that answer
question.
your question?
It answered my question. I just thought that previously I've heard about people being able to go up to like Baltimore and get a LLC and get it right then. So I guess that was my question. Could you get it expedited?
Yeah, now back in the old days, we did have to go to Baltimore. We had to go up there. I can't remember the street now. But yeah, I used to go to that building all the time. You go up there, you sit around, and they'll take a couple hours and they'll call you and they would print it out for you. And if you need to get it hot like that, then maybe you can try it, but that's been many, many years for me. I've not been down there, opened up an LLC in Baltimore, I could say in at least 10, 11 years.
Can I say
But you're
that?
absolutely right. You should go down there in one day and get your LLC. If you went down there early enough, you'll have it by the afternoon or something.
Can I say that's Preston Street?
Preston Street. There you go. Thank you, D.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, everybody who's ever started a business back in the day knows about going out Baltimore to Preston Street, and you got to make sure you pay that parking, and they're going to still give you a ticket. Even if you pay it, they're going to give you a ticket. And then you're going to be waiting in that building. You say, I already got the ticket, so I might as well leave the car out there anyway. And there's nothing to eat down there. It's kind of sketchy. You're walking around, so you try to stay in the building, and then you go back up and check it. It's kind of hot. There's a lot going on. I like doing it online. But those are the good old days, and if it still works, go for it. I haven't been down there in years. How about you, D? How about you? Have you been down there lately to see if they still do it?
I have not. I think they changed a lot of things after the pandemic. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I haven't been up there for at least, well, definitely since before the pandemic.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we had somebody else who had a question.
I do. I don't know if there's someone else. I had a question when Jennifer asked her question. Actually, her question was was one of my questions. So thanks for clearing up the whole. It was about the articles of organization, and I am still waiting for that to come in. Hopefully, I have it by today. But my other question is just to kind of recap. I need my articles of organization. The EIN letter, is that the one that was generated right when we applied for it?
Yeah,
We get
that was the one.
That's the letter we're seeing. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Our ID.
One is state, and one is federal. Right.
Okay. So my other question is, the next step that I have to do is applying for the credit. And as far as Dun & Bradstreet, I noticed, I actually kind of navigated through there where you were talking, and it says that it takes 30 days for that to take place, or you can expedite it and have it that done within 8 days. How is that relevant to when we go to the bank to apply for the credit?
Doesn't have anything to do with going to the bank.
Perfect. I'm not looking for an excuse to wait 30 days or 8 days. I just wanted to,
Yeah, the bank is going to go off the strength of your personal credit score when establishing your first account with them. Because again, everything is new, and it hasn't been what's called seasoned. It hasn't seasoned, and so they're going to go off of what they do have, which is your personal, is you as the personal guarantor, if you will, for these credit lines that you're asking for. They want to see if you have paid your bills on time, and if you have good credit. If you have good credit, then it stands that they can extend your business credit and you'll take care of the business as well. If you haven't established good credit, then you go back to my video from last year and you work on doing that.
Okay.
In order to get the line of credit. But I still wouldn't delay opening up the bank account and seasoning the account, because if you have a great year, they're going to call you and say, hey, you want a line of credit? We see you making deposits. We see that your business is going, but can we help it grow?
So
All right.
I have a third question.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm already on to, I'll call phase 2, which is I will go to Dun & Bradstreet and take care of that today. but it's going to the bank. And after I receive this letter, I'll go ahead and start with that. But I have some reservations, or maybe that's not the right word. I know you said when we go to the bank, we apply for a loan, line of credit, or credit card, or credit card. Am I specifically asking for all three? I know you've talked about
Yes.
this, just trying to get some clarity, because I'll tell you, I have some, maybe reservations is the word, and just moving forward with that aspect of it, and just feeling like, I don't want to say confident, but asking for those things, are they going to ask me anything that I should be prepared for, or am I trying to get all three of those? And if so, are they going to ask me for amounts, or am I just going to see an amount that they're approved me for a loan? Specifically, am I asking for anything other than those three things to, ultimately try to get?
So normally when you sit down with the business representative at the bank, they're going to ask you, did you want to apply for those things? If they don't, then you can say, hey, tell me about your lines of credit, your business loans, or your credits, your business credit cards. Tell me, for where I am, what you think I should do. And you can have a consultation with them. They'll tell you about their products. They want to sell their products. They get big money for selling those products. 9 times out of 10, they're going to ask you, do you want to apply? And I'm going to help you get over the hesitation in a little bit, because I kind of think I know where you're going with the hesitation, but I'm going to try to help you understand what you're going to be getting these things for. It's not just to get them to have them willy-nilly. It's to use them for specific purposes. All right? Okay. And so there's the next, as we go on through a couple more of these slides, I'll get to that part of it.
I'll
right?
save my questions.
They're going to probably ask they'll probably ask you, do you want to apply for those things? Because now that you have a business account, they'll say, hey, do you want to open up a business loan? And then there's other resources that we're going to talk about in just a second. So let's go to the next slide. I think we're good. You guys so basically opening up a bank account, and then this is the first step, is talking to them about their products, their business loan. The other thing is, this is another step that people often forget. In most states, and specifically in the state of Maryland, there's the Maryland's small business, what is it called? SBDC. Okay, let's go with that. It's the small business, what's it called? Administration, small business administration. All right. And what they have, there are a multitude of resources. So they'll talk to you, because a lot of people have questions about business. They will give you information about establishing a business. They want small businesses in the state of Maryland. They're going to talk to you about the resources that they provide to you. They're going to talk to you about how to start a business. Some of the things that I've already told you, they're going to reiterate. They're going to talk about what steps to do next. They're going to tell you how to run your business, how to set up your books, how to, track your account, how to look at your profit and loss. A lot of people are trying to start businesses. You might be a table maker. You know everything about making tables, but nothing about the table making business, because you don't know the business side. This is what the Small Business Administration helps you do. They even have consultants that will support you. Okay, they can help you register if you're a minority-owned or women-owned business, so that you can receive certain grants and funding that might be available free of cost. You never have to pay it back. You just have to apply and qualify. And then they'll talk to you about other funding options through the Small Business Administration, just to get your feet up under you. But a lot of people overlook this beautiful small step that will help you out. And they oftentimes have so much money, they just have to come up with stuff to try to give it out. They say, hey, we're giving out a grant if you ever had an employee. If you have one employee, other than yourself, we'll give you up to $25,000. What? Let me sign up, and it's a grant. You don't have to pay it back, just to keep that employee on, because they don't want their numbers to go down. You know what? When they start talking about, these politicians start talking about their employment, the number of jobs created, number of employments. This is how they're helping people do it. So don't overlook the Small Business Administration, especially in the state of Maryland. There's a ton of resources you can go through. You can read it, digest it, make the phone calls, and just talk to them about what you're trying to do and how you're trying to develop your business. you'll be surprised at how few people ever call that are in real estate or in the same industry that you're in. All right, that's the website right there. Screenshot it, take a picture of it, log on to it, check it out. Ton of resources. All right, and then some of those questions and fears and uncertainties and doubts you have about establishing credit and how to use it, they're going to answer those questions too. The consultants are good; they're very good. So check those things out. All right. Any questions? Moving on to the next slide. All right. Here we go. All right. Now, we talked about, and they still have the SBC, don't worry about that. We're talking about now, I'm talking about applying for business credits, lines of credit. I want to elaborate on that bullet that I knew was going to give some people a little trepidation there. All right, so here's my general rule of thumb of what I'm going to use these three instruments, because they're three separate instruments. A line of credit, a credit card, and a loan are three separate things. And in my mind, I use them for different things. My business credit card, I use it for the regular day-to-day operations of my business. Okay? If I'm going to carry debt, and you might end up having to carry some debt, carry it on the business entity, not on your personal self, not on your personal credit cards, but on your business credit cards. Okay? And there's a whole lot of reasons for that, but that's my recommendation.
I got
If
a
you
quick
want to talk to
question.
me, yes.
When you apply for like early like this, and you apply for credit cards, and they actually ask you for your social security number. So you're saying apply with your business, I'm assuming EIN, but are they still basing it off your credit social security number?
So that's a good question. Let me explain to you what's going to happen. Let's say, I remember the very first time I applied for a business credit card was when I was at another company. And we had a company, we established the Porter Home Team, okay? And I remember sitting in the doctor's office, and I was just reading through business credit for new companies. And Capital One had a product called the Capital One Spark Business Card. And it said, apply in 5 minutes. And I was sitting in the doctor, and I think I was about to get my blood drawn, and I was trying not to think about it. So I just started applying. And then it asked me for, yes, it asked me for my personal social security number, but then it asked me for my EIN number. So it took my EIN number and it asked me for the address and all of that good stuff. And again, remember, you want to use a business address, you want to use a business email, because they're looking at those two things to help make the determination. Then it said, what is your estimated annual salary? And I estimated what I had put in my business plan that I projected my business salary to be. It wasn't what it was, but it was what I projected it to be. Then it asked me for my debt. Now, here's one thing that you got to know. If you live with somebody and you, say for instance, your rent is $2,000 and you live with somebody, your rent, your debt is only $1,000. You're splitting that in half. So you put the debt. So then I started going through the process, and bingo, they said, you approved. I freaked out. They said, Porter Home Team, you're approved. You can start using your card now. Open up the app. Here's the card number. And I had a business credit card just like that. It literally took 5-10 minutes. It's really not as deep and as scary as you thinking it is. You got to go through the process. You got to overcome those hurdles and barriers and just do it. All right. And it wasn't that Capital One was somebody who I knew. I was just Googling because it was something that I knew I needed to do. And I Googled it and I was researching and I looked and I said, hey, and they don't have this, they don't have no annual fee. The first, 12 months, 0%. And I just looked at it and I said, hey, I gotta start somewhere.
So
I just did.
So are they reporting to your Social Security credit bureaus?
No.
Or?
No, it is only my business credit cards. My Porter Home Team card is a Porter Home Team card. Porter Home Team has its own track record of success, if you will. Does that make sense? They used my personal credit too as the personal guarantor in case that, you know, I defaulted on the card. They can come after me per se. And I can tell you about that later. You know, if that ever happens, just come to me. It's not a big deal. But that's what they need to use you for, because that Porter Home Team didn't exist. It had just been established, and yet I'm asking for a credit. Now, they didn't give me a lot of credit. They didn't give me a lot of credit. I think the first card, I guess it was a lot. It was around 2,000 maybe.
Okay, so they're not that you won't see it on your credit report. You'll see.
Well, it's going to show. It's going to say that no, you're going to get a notification if you have any kind of credit monitor that somebody's looking at your credit. They're going to look at your credit, but they're not going to apply the card to your credit. It's not going to show up on your credit card under your FICO. And when you look under your FICOs, under TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian, it's not necessarily going to show up for Porter Home Team on your personal credit.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's going to, it's going to be almost invisible on your personal credit.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Apologize. So just so a couple of things. Number one, so initially the credit is being established upon the strength of your own personal credit, correct? Then at
Correct.
some point, does it then, once you've built your business and established your credit, it begins to then be based upon the business credit?
So it's really, and I'm gonna be very. I don't know how they do it. I just know for me, my business credit lines are not showing up on my personal credit. My personal credit cards are what I'm being assessed for FICO, for TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Those things are showing up on my personal credit cards. For my business credit cards, they don't. That money, that amount is not on my personal card, even though I use my personal Social Security number to help establish it. So if I pull my credit report, I don't see, or the amount of credit that they even say I have, me personally, is not demonstrated with my business accounts. Like, say for instance, if I have that $2,000 in Porter Home Team credit, it's not showing up on my personal account that I have that much, that I have an extra $2,000. It's not showing either way. It's not showing that I owe that money. It's not showing that I have that money in terms of credit or my personal FICO scores. Does that make sense? Because I think that's what your question is.
Yes, but I guess I understand what you're saying, I believe. But I think so you said initially when you opened up this, when you apply for this credit card, it gave you a small amount. But I guess I'm assuming that as your business grows and as you, are your credit, eventually, so how do you build that credit line, I guess? Or that,
So that's what I'm getting to. So that's what I'm getting to in these bullets. So let's go through that. And then I just want to make sure I'm answering your question before I get to the bullets. So let me go through the bullets.
Okay, I apologize. Can I ask one other question quickly that you mentioned?
Yes.
So now, as far as you said, so Capital One gave you in it, this no interest for the first year. Because a lot of, banks will do that, give those 0% interest. Would you suggest to like moving from one, for this first year, I use this one, and then move to another one that gives you that same advantage the next year, and so on and so forth?
So I don't want to get into that aspect of it, Ms. Anita. What I want you to do is establish it. And let me tell you what I want you to establish it for, and then maybe that'll help you think about how you want to do it, okay? So the bullets are simple. So for my credit cards, again, I'm using my credit cards, right, to pay my dues, my memberships, things of that nature that are revolving things that I'm gonna have to take care of from year to year. So a lot of times you got to pay that MLS fee. It might not be the right time. It might not be the right time. Things might have slowed down, and then it's October and they or September, whenever they want that MLS fee, and it's like $800. Where you gonna get that $100 from? Well, it's gonna come directly off of that credit card. That's what I'm using my credit card for. And if I apply the same measures for my credit card that I did for my personal credit, you got to go back and watch your personal credit, then I'm going to make sure that I pay that balance down before the statement date, some way, shape, or form. I'm going to make multiple payments. I'm going to do the same thing I did with my personal credit to establish my personal credit. Like, instead of paying once a month and trying to pay that $800 all at once, I'm going to divide that $800 into 30 and pay that thing down as many times as I possibly can within that month before the statement day. So now I'm doing the same thing. I'm building my business credit the same way I built my personal credit. And then I'm going to make sure I pay that amount off and then use that card over and over again to take care of my fees and all of those things that happen to be associated. If I need to purchase new signs, or if I want to, get a rider, or if I want to do that, you just strategically plan that stuff so that even though you get a commission coming in, you can set some of your commission aside to pay for those things, but still use your business credit card to purchase it. Okay, use your business credit card to pay the invoice, and then take that money that came off your commission and pay the credit card back. So you always want to be pouring from one bucket into another. When I get my commission or I recruit a person, I got $300. Now, what am I do with that $300? I can put it in my pocket. I can go play the lottery, or I can invest it into some listing postcards, or to some community postcards, or to some advertising. And I'm going to pay for it on my credit card, my business credit card, and then I'm going to pay the credit card back with the money I set aside from the recruit I just brought on board. Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to do is help you establish ways to pay things and do things with your credit, and to still use your credit and grow credit so you get more credit. Does that make sense? Somebody say something to me. We good to go? Okay.
Yep, that makes sense.
Okay. Now, lines of credit. I love lines of credit. I like lines of credit more than I like loans. But you're gonna have to get loans eventually, one way, shape, or form. But the reason why I like lines of credit is because they're just like big credit cards that you get to use over and over again. And the thing that's different than credit cards is the credit card money is locked in the credit card and the credit card system, meaning that you have to take that credit card to a person that got a credit card receiver, swipe their money, and then it's paid for and you go on about your business. With a line of credit, you can literally go to the bank and you can move that money from your line of credit to your bank account and cash that money out. Or you can use it, and what I like to use line of credits for, and this is where you guys get into investments and things of that nature. The line of credit is just money sitting in your account that is not your money, but there's money that the bank is allowing you to use over and over again. You can use it, pay it back, and use it again. You don't have to keep applying for it. Whereas a loan is money that's set in your bank that once you get it, the interest clock starts running on it immediately. Right? So once they give you that loan, so I'm gonna use my magic number of 25,000 because these are big numbers, right? So with my line of credit, if I get $25,000 line of credit, they're going to give it to me, but as long as I don't use it, I'm not paying any interest on it, just like a credit card. Okay, so I have the line of credit, it's sitting in my account, and I'm waiting to use it for a strategic moment when I'm in need to use the line of credit. And I'll tell you, to give you a really good example of real estate of where you use the line of credit. With the loan, however, the loan is money they're going to give to me to use for a purpose, and then I pay it back. So if you get a car loan and all that stuff, but then let's use real estate. Say, for instance, you guys get real sharp and you say, hey, Ms. Porter, let's go. I'm ready to go do some investments. I got my credit straight. I got my business line of credit. I'm ready. I can go get a business loan. I'm ready to rock and roll. So let's just use a mortgage loan, for example. It's a loan, so we go get a loan and we call Mike Cooper and say, hey, Mike, we want to purchase a building. Well, not me, not we. I'm gonna put you all out there. Say, I want to purchase a building. And this building, I want to know how much you're going to give me towards this. And I want to purchase it in the name of my LLC. So he's going to do the same thing. He's going to use your personal credit to get an idea of what the LLC is going to do. He's going to look at the LLC's credit. He's going to put, and then they're going to give you a loan. But they're going to say, this is a commercial loan and you need to pay, you need to bring $25,000 to the table. Where are you going to get the $25,000? Don't worry, I got a line of credit. But now I'm going to use the loan, which is going to be where my mortgage is generated on a monthly basis over 30-year period or whatever, 15-year period, however many years, whatever you agree to for the fixed loan, the interest rates and all that good stuff. So now my property, my principal, my interest, taxes, and insurance are going to be taken care of through the mortgage. I'm going to have tenants in there, so they're going to be paying my mortgage for me, playing my favorite radio station, PM and FM. The line of credit that I use, I want to pay it back when they pay their rent because they're going to be paying my mortgage because I want to make sure the tenant's rent is going to take care of the mortgage and it's going to take care of everything else, including paying back that line of credit. And once that line of credit is paid back, now I got $25,000 sitting in the bank waiting for me to do it again. I go to Mike and say, hey, can you give me another loan? That's how I use loans, lines of credit. My credit card is for my day-to-day business purposes. My line of credit is used for major purchases of investments that's going to help me yield more money. My loans are used for things that I'm going to have to pay back over a long period of time, but I don't want to pay a lot for that money. So when you ask for it, now, when I say you go to the bank and ask for loans and lines of credit and credit cards, a lot of times the reason why I'm saying is because a lot of times they'll give you a loan, but they might not give you a line of credit. Lines of credit are more fluid, and again, the interest is not attached immediately. With a loan, the interest is attached immediately upon you receiving it. The line of credit, you don't pay any interest until you start using it. If you don't pay it back, and you can use it and pay it back in time and never pay interest, and that's a whole nother thing I'll teach you later. But with credit cards, the same thing applies. So the line of credit is just a jumbo, in my mind, a jumbo credit card, but it has a little bit more fluidity in that I can actually get cash out if I needed to actually bring a cash or cashier's check or something like that to the bank, because a lot of places will not take a credit card and they will not let you use a credit card as your down payment, but they won't stop you from using the line of credit. And let's say if I find a building and the building is $25,000 and I got a $25,000 line of credit, I don't even need to go to Mr. Cooper. I don't have to ask for a loan. I could just use my line of credit and purchase the building and do the same thing, get somebody in there and make sure that they're paying me back with interest or with enough money to pay the line of credit back. And then I can use that line of credit over and over again. So I love lines of credit. That's my thing. I'm always looking for lines of credit, but I'm not mad at business credit cards either. I'd rather carry debt on my business than carry debt on my personal. So even if you can get a business credit card, you might have debt on your personal credit card. The first business card you might want to get is you look for business cards where you can transfer balances. And then you transfer your personal debt onto a business credit. Now it's not reflecting on your personal credit. So when you go ask for more credit, your debt to income ratio is better because you've already transferred the debt from your personal credit card into the business. And then you do business to pay for things within the business, and then you make your proceeds off of the what's left out of what you paid in the business. That's how you do it. That's just how you set the business up. So you don't, some people come say, well, where am I going to get the money to do this and affiliate and this? You need to go and establish your entity and let your entity fund you in doing business. I hope that made sense. All right. The last thing I want to say, and then I'm going to open this up because I think we're way over time, is consult with an accountant. Okay. Consult with your tax professional or even an attorney to help you structure your business. And again, the Small Business Administration will help you. They'll talk to you. They have consultants and everything. But ultimately, each of us have our own personal thing. And if you get a good tax accountant, a good tax professional, or a tax attorney or whatever, they'll teach you how to leverage and structure yourself for tax shelter purposes, for longevity, for putting away money for retirement, and all of those things. Financial advisors are even good, okay? If they're a good financial advisor, I would recommend that you use all of these people, but these things that I'm telling you are just basic things that any of them will be proud of you for already having established, because it makes their life a lot easier, okay? They will help you understand what tax codes are that are related to the line of business that you're in. There are special tax codes if you are a real estate professional. But in order to meet that real estate professional standard, you have to do certain things in real estate. And I don't think being a realtor is one of them. You actually have to buy and sell and invest in your own property, which is what I'm strategically trying to help you get set up for. All right. And also, your tax attorney will tell you when, how, and if you want to migrate from a limited liability company, or how to establish a company as a different type of corporation within the structure that already exists, or if you need to change it because you might be making way too much money. But these are things that I want you to consult with somebody other than Mr. Porter that does all of those things in terms of taxes and that type of thing. But for this purpose, this is going to help you tremendously if you want to establish your business as a business. All right, that's it. I'm going to open it up for questions.
Your audio has gone out.
Oh, I said that's it. I'm going to open it up for questions.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any questions?
When you make your name for your company, you could use property investments or home investments, but you can't use realty, right?
Well, I don't. Again, that's like I said. That's something that I just know about realtor. I think you can use other words and phrases. If they have a problem with it, then they'll send you a message, or it won't even let you put it in sometimes. But then if it does get through that and then the people review it, they'll say, hey, you can't use this word. And then you just take the word out and resubmit.
Darlene?
Yeah, my question was, a minute ago, you were talking about the business line of credit. You said, you get the business line of credit and you hold on to it until you use it for something big. So my question is it with the business credit, is it if you don't use it, you could lose it? Or is that something that would just sit there until you're ready to, find an opportunity to, use that business line of credit?
My experience is that once they give it to you, it's yours. You can sit there as long as they might call you and say, hey, you're going to use it or not, but 9 times out of 10 is yours. They're not going to bother you. Now, that's a really good question, though, Darlene. I'm glad you said that. All right. There's so many different entities out here now. But some companies will give you a credit card. They'll call it a line of credit, but it's a credit card. And it's a charge card. It's not a credit card, a charge card. That's something that I haven't talked about. So when I say credit card, a credit card is a card where you pay it back over time, and it's not all due at once. Anybody knows anything about American Express, the way they used to do business, American Express was a charge card. Mm-hmm. You buy something this month, you got 30 days to pay it all off. Mm-hmm. That's a charge card. Not to be confused with a credit card. They look exactly the same. The only difference is the way they operate. Okay? A credit card, you get one, many of you have credit cards and you've been paying that bill forever. because they want you to get in debt and just make the minimum payment, and it'll take you 72 years to pay it off. That's the rule of 72. You don't want to be caught up in that. You want to pay it. You don't want to overuse your personal credit ever. I don't even like to use my personal credit except for those things that are actually personal. My personal food, my personal, if whatever. My personal stuff, that's what you use everything else is associated with you doing business. If you gotta get gas, if you gotta put your clothes in the cleaners, is all you can write all of that stuff off if you itemize it. That's why I said talk to your accountant about how to do it. And then what you do is you just print out your statements from your credit card and hand them over to your accountant and say, hey, go for it. So they're going to be able to pull and write off 90% or a lot of, let me not say the percentages. They're going to be able to write off what is allowable for them to write off, as long as you use the things and separate your charges from business and personal.
Mhm.
And that's what I want you to do, because a lot of you are using your personal money trying to run a business. And you're wondering why it's not working. It's not supposed to work like that.
Mhm.
You're not supposed to use your personal money. You can invest in yourself, but you should pay yourself back. You can, invest in your entity. You can be the first investor in your entity. You can give your business $5,000, but you tell your business you owe me $5,000 with interest back, because I'm making a personal, as the person, Steve Shea Porter, is going to loan Porterhouse my personal money. I try not to do that, but if you go to the bank and you're not ready, then you might have to do that, and that's how you got to keep account of what you're giving into your business, because you're supposed to get that back.
Right. Can I ask Mr. Porter, since you're talking about that, my question was, I understood that you had to keep your business and your personal separate. So I did not understand that you could pay off what appears to be personal debt with your business card. Because that's one of the things I keep saying, well, now how do I pay off all this investment stuff that I put into my business? How do I pay that off with my business? So I know we need to talk to accountants about that, but can you talk a little about that?
So I think let me clear this up. I think you're referring to when I say you want to transfer all of your personal debt into your business, right?
Right.
That's what you need to talk to a tax, so you know what's allowable, because a lot of things that are allowable you're not doing because you think it's a personal thing. But if it's needed for you to operate in the business, if it's one of those allowable things, then you want to make sure you don't use your personal card, you use your business card to pay for those things. There are even things you can, going to the cleaners or getting your hair cut or groomed, certain grooming things, and your clothes and all of these things that you use as attributes to build your business are allowable. You just need to talk to a tax counsel or tax professional so you know what's allowable. So as you're making the decisions on what you're going to do, so if I wear jeans when I do my work, so I can put my jeans now in the cleaners to use as part of my business attire. You follow what I'm saying? But it has to be stuff that you're legitimately using, so that you stop using all your personal money to pay for all of this stuff that you don't have to use your personal money for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Your mileage, your gas. Now, if you going to get gas and is on a Sunday, and you going to church and you going to restaurant, you ain't doing no business, because some people don't work on Sunday. And if you don't work on Sunday, then you don't want to swipe your business card on that day.
Right.
Now, if you do, let's say like I don't think people have gas cards anymore. But let's say you have a personal gas card and you get a better rate for using your personal gas, and you use your personal gas card on a day that you're doing business to get gas. Well, that debt you do want to transfer over to the business, because Shay used his card to pay for a business expense because we're about to go do business, because he had the right card. But you want to make sure you calculate and say, hey, I just put $50 in my gas tank, but it's for business, and you want to transfer that money over there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so what you're saying really is you really have to keep track, and that's what I've been trying to figure out how to do. And so I would
Well,
need,
it be some of the time, some things you just get it. You know, you literally got to make a list of things that you know you can do, and sometimes you got to keep that list with you until you start living life, and then you know subconsciously this is allowable, that's not. This is allowable, that's not.
right.
So I'm saying, so you training your, I'm sorry, you training your brain, and you got to train yourself through going. It's like doing anything else in real estate. You don't know how to write an offer till you keep writing offers. You know, you didn't have you write the offer, and then you got to present the offer, and you got to go through the whole process, and then you got to get the settlement, then you got to remember to buy a gift, then you got to remember the post closing. So all of the things that we do now, if we start doing them now, then it becomes second nature. Just like when you first drove your car. When you first started driving the car back in the day when you first got that license, you sat up straight, pulled the seatbelt, moved the mirror, you did this, you looked both ways, and now y'all just zoom on out of here.
I can
Go
understand,
around.
I can
Yeah, so
understand what you're
it's
saying too.
yeah, the automaticity will come, but what we can't do is be hesitant to start the process.
Mhm.
Okay, you're doing everything in the best interest of yourself and your business in order to establish yourself as a business professional, so that your business takes care of business, and you're the beneficiary of your business doing good business. Now, D, let me say this to you. When you are a single entity LLC, you can get draws out of your your business account. But again, that's something I want you to consult with your tax professional on. Mr. Porter is not telling you to do, but it's allowable. I know it's allowable, but I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to talk to your tax professional before you do anything that I might be suggesting. And
Okay.
if the rule changed yesterday and I don't know about it, then I'm in trouble, right? But it's allowable because they understand that you're the person that's doing business as this person. So they don't want you to have to go through so much rigmarole. But as you start to grow in business, then you do have to start to separate it more and more because of the way your corporation, if you start to incorporate and get certain, as you move up the ladder, so to speak, as you start to make more money, then there are separations that you really have to be mindful of. If you're doing flips and things of that nature, where there's big money on, then you have to be mindful of those things. But when you're starting out and you're making, 6,000 here, 10,000 there, 4,000 there, and it really at the end of the year it might not add up to 40 or 50,000, but it's some extra money because you you're doing, you're dual, you have dual career, what have you. Yeah, you start to pay attention to it, but they kind of know, even though you have an LLC, it's just you.
Okay.
And so that's allowable. But again, talk to your tax professional.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Anybody else? All right. Well, I know we're way over time, so I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Leaf. I hope somebody learned something. If you need any help, if you have any questions, you guys can call me, text me, and I'll be happy to respond. All right. Have a great day. Let's go be productive. Let's get started on some of these things. Again, if you talk to your accountant, tax professional, and they say something different, go with what they say. Ignore what I say. I'm just telling you what I've done and how we've done things. All right. So that was just my spiel on it. This is what we done, and I recommend you do it. There's so many benefits to it that I'm not going to go into. But as you start to talk to these professionals, they'll explain to you what you're doing and why you're doing it, and how it's a good thing that you've done. All right. So that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to our Upper Marlboro office manager, Ms. Anita.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. And thank you to everyone for holding on and staying in with the Realty Talk. This was a good training and a good blueprint for us as far as establishing our businesses are concerned. So again, thank you very, very much. I wanted to give everyone a reminder about this evening's mastermind training. This evening, we're going to have Margaret with us, and she is going to be sharing with us on how to how to build a our social media presence. So that's going to be a great training as well this evening, and that begins at 7 p.m. So we look forward to seeing everyone back this evening. It is hybrid, and so we encourage everyone to come into the office. But if by some chance you are unable to join us here in the office, then by all means, jump on Zoom and join us in that way. If there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and we will end